Hello, and welcome to this episode of My Forever Home, the podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about a very important topic, and it's all about decision fatigue. Now, for some of you that have gone down this renovation or new build journey before, or maybe going through it right now, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's when you're faced with a whole heap of decisions time after time after time after time after time again, and you need to make decisions. Now, some of that you can get a professional to assist you along that journey and minimize and reduce the amount of decisions you need to make, or at least make that decision making experience much faster or easier for you. Otherwise, you need to do it yourself. And what I'm going to go through today is just to give you an idea on some of the things you'll need to consider and just make decisions on. And you can be super, 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 super planned, but there will always be inevitable decisions that are unable to be planned for that just happen on site. There was, for example, with my own new build, we had to make a decision around whether to backfill our slab because water had got in. There were other decisions about in another renovation project that I did where the initial location of the air conditioning unit wasn't able to be placed where we wanted it to be for installation restrictions. So you can be super planned, but there will always be unexpected decisions that you'll need to make. So the goal is that you want to be as organized and as planned as you possibly can be to minimize decisions when you're in a really stressed situation, when you're feeling overloaded with things. So really, the amount of decisions you're going to be making are endless, and it can be exhausting, but you can, as I mentioned earlier, you can get help to make it very streamlined and very, very easy. Just really quickly, I'll give you an example, and this has come directly from what clients have told me. In terms of making decisions for materials, it sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? I need to choose some tiles, I need to choose a bench top, and I need to choose some cabinetry colors, and I'm done. But you need to do that for lots and lots of different rooms in your home. And just thinking about that, it seems easy because it sounds like 3 or 4 materials you need to choose. That's fairly able to be done. It feels manageable, doesn't it? But then when you actually start going to the shops for bench tops and the shops for tiles and the shops for cabinetry materials and the different types of materials, the different types of tiles, and what does the slip resistance mean, and what are the different types of bench tops, and why would one be better over another? Then that starts to overload more information that you're needing to take on. And then you've got to work out what goes with what. And so actually, it becomes quite a daunting task because when you walk into a showroom just of one particular product supplier, think about a tile shop, for example. Oh my goodness, you're just inundated with so many choices. Where do you even start? That is an instant decision fatigue moment. So what we actually do when we're choosing materials for our clients never have to step into a shop. Because in the studio, there we lay everything out on a table. And I think I may have mentioned this in another podcast episode, but everything is laid out on a table. And because we've extrapolated and obtained a brief from you, we've been able to work out what you actually, the direction you want to go down, the design direction you want to go down. And then based on that brief, we're actually able to source those materials on your behalf. And then all you're going to see when you come into the studio is a really refined, curated selection of materials. And so instantly the decisions are heavily, that decision fatigue is not there because you're only choosing from 1 or 2 bench tops. And we're able to guide you on why that particular bench top is there, why we think it's suitable for your home, what are the advantages and disadvantages of that over maybe another bench top material. And that's just the bench top. So clients of ours actually walk out of the studio after being with us for an hour and a half, and they've chosen their entire materials for all of their house. And it's like they say to me, I will never be able to do that because I have to go to all these different stores. So it's only once you go through that experience you realize, oh my goodness me, this has saved me so many headaches, so much stress, so much time, because more often than not, 95% of the decisions have been made in that 1.5 hour meeting. So it's very, very powerful to minimize decision fatigue. So what is decision fatigue actually? Sorry, I went off on that tangent. It's too many decisions, especially when there's too many decisions to be made all at once, or, bang, 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 bang. I need this decision. I need that decision. It creates mental burnout. And also on the journey with us, we actually ring fence certain things. So let's just work on this bit now. Then we're going to work on this bit now to minimize your decision fatigue, to minimize you thinking about too many things at once. And this is just a tried and tested approach that helps clients. And look, I've lived and breathed this myself through renovations and new builds that I've done too. So I know the things that have helped to be able to minimize that. And it means that you lose clarity. You start second guessing yourself. Maybe I'll just pick this because I'm over the whole process. This is driving me nuts. I'll just go for that. So you're making hasty decisions. You're making rash decisions. You're not actually making decisions that may be the ones that you'd really choose if you weren't in such a state. But that can then lead to costly mistakes. It can lead to masses of regret because the end result is not as you wanted. But it also means that you may end up with a home that doesn't actually feel like you because you haven't taken the time or been able to find actually what you're really wanting in your home, or it just doesn't feel connected. And that's what I spoke about last time around having continuity and flow and that connectivity as you walk and flow through a home. That could be lost because you've looked at things in isolation, because you had to put things on hold for a while because something else, life got in the way, and that happens. And so that happens with our clients. We bring them back, we revisit, re-review. This is where we were. These are the things we now need to do. So how and where does it show up? And I just wanted to give you an example of some of the things you're going to need to start thinking about. But it's not an exhaustive list, because the exhaustive list means I'm going to be here for a very long time and you're going to get super bored and I'm going to get sick of my own voice. So I'm just going to touch on some of the things you'll need to decide on. With your floor plans, you're going to need to start thinking about window size. Your architect's going to help with this, but what are the type of windows? How do they affect flow? How do they affect furniture placement? So it's not just windows. There's other things that are impacted by windows. Your kitchen, it's the benchtop material. Will it be stone, laminate, porcelain, splashback? Is it going to be tiles, stone? Will it be a window? Maybe you're going to use metal-line. Maybe you're going to have something custom made. There's some amazing products out there. Appliances, what are all the appliances that you're going to choose, and what sizes are those appliances? And are they going to be integrated or freestanding, or are they going to be built in? What's the type? What's their color? Have you seen all the different types of colors of appliances that you can get now? It's not just metal or black or, Smega introducing colors. Lots of other brands are introducing colors as well. What's the type of heat source? Will it be induction? Are you going to induction or electric, or dare I say it, gas? Tapware finish. What about the tap type? What's the brand of tap? Are you having Australian made? Are you having something that's a little bit more cost effective? What's the warranty on those taps? And what's the color? Now, we've got 15 to 20 different colors. What's the finish going to be? Do you want a living metal? Do you want a polish finish? Do you want a matte finish? What about, are you going to have handles? Are you going to have push-touch cabinetry? Or maybe you're going to have finger pull? What sort of handle type has to match in with the metal? Does the metal match with the tap color? What about the sink color? How's that going to coordinate back to the tap? And with your handles, how are they going to be placed? Are they going to be vertical? Are they going to be horizontal? Are they going to be placed on the edge or in the middle? Are they going to be long, or are they going to be short? Are you going to have knobs maybe? What's the layout of the kitchen? Where are the appliances going to be? Is your sink going to be undermount, flush mount, or top mounted, inset? You're going to have a draining board or not? You're going to have the grill, the drain grooves routed out of the bench top. If possible, it's not always possible. What are the implications on some material choices, on some of the appliance choices that you're making? For example, you won't be able to have an undermount sink with a laminate bench top. What about wet areas? And I'm just touching the sides here, let me remind you. Wet areas, so your bathroom, your powder rooms, and your laundry. What is going to be the layout? And where you're going to have high cabinetry, you're going to have a vanity that's floating, or is it freestanding? Is it going to be double sinks or not? And your materials, your tiles, are these tiles suitable for bathroom floors and walls? There's different types of tiles that you'd use on the floors versus the walls. What about their slip resistance? What happens when those tiles get wet? Are they going to be safe? What's the cabinetry going to be? Is it going to be finger pull again? But what's the cabinetry surface? What's the type? Is it going to be resistant to steam in the room? Are there going to be any feature tiles? Again, are you having handles? What's the bench top going to be? Is it going to be the same as what you're using elsewhere in the house, or are you going to choose something different here? What about the tile layout? What's the extent of the tiling, and how does that affect your skirting? What's going to be the cornice type? And is that going to be the same in the bathrooms, or are you having a different cornice in those spaces? The mirror, is it going to be, what's the shape of the mirror? Is it going to have storage? Is it not going to have storage? Is it going to be recessed in the wall or not? Is it going to just sit flush? Or is it going to be recessed right back into the wall? Appliances for your laundry, how are they going to be in the space? Are they going to be side by side? Are they going to be stacked? Can the appliances be stacked? Depends on the different appliances that you use. What sort of storage are you going to allow for? Then you've got a lighting and electrical. So what's the lighting going to be? Is it just downlights? What sort of downlights? What sort of lumens? Like, this opens up a whole other ball game, and you really need an expert to help you here. What about the pendants you're going to choose, or the wall lights? It's not just about the fittings, it's the fitting type. And it's also the amount of light that they're producing. Is it warm or is it cool light that you're going to opt for? And where's it going to go? Does it affect the furniture placement? For example, if you're having a pendant over the dining table, before you actually move back in, you need to know exactly where that pendant's going to be located, so that when you do move in, it is centered on that space. What about your PowerPoint placement? How many are you having? Where are they going to be? What's the plate style? And what's the colors? Are they going to be push button, or are they going to be switches? Do you need any dials for any dimmers? And what about home integration, smart home integration? Are you having that? What about built-in speakers, security cameras? Are they going to be remote? Do they work off your phone? So many things to think about. And again, that's just for starters. And then things that are not so sexy, like heating and cooling. I was absolutely adamant, convinced no compromises were going to be made, that I was going to have hydronic heating. I'd lived in Europe for 15 years. Of course I was going to have hydronic heating. It's the absolute god of heating. It is fabulous. Also really good for drying your clothes. However, I was also building a sustainable home, and it wasn't going to be the optimum solution for me. They're the sorts of choices you'll need to make. Are you having ducted? Are you having split systems? Are you having ducted split systems? Hydronic heating, or will it be underfloor? What rooms will have underfloor? What's the impact of that on any sustainable measures that you have? What about zoning of this heating and cooling for energy efficiency? And where's the external motor going to be placed? Is it outside? Is it on the roof? It will be outside, and where's the return air, if you need to think about that as well? Are the vents coming out of the ceiling or the floor? And what about sustainable features? This is probably a whole podcast on its own. Things that just really high level, having solar panels, or a conduit to at least allow for it for later installation, or battery storage. Where's the battery going to go? How are you going to access that? What's it going to be used for? Are you going to have a heat recovery ventilator, HRV? Where's that going to be? Where's the motor for that going to be placed in your home? Because it needs to be in the envelope, the insulated envelope of the house. Where are the vents going to be in the rest of the house for your HRV? Are you doing double, triple, or single glazing? Is single glazing even a thing these days? Like, honestly, is anyone really putting in single glazing these days? It's really a no-brainer that you'll have double, but I have got clients that are doing triple glazing depending on where they're located. What about water tanks? Are they going to above ground? How many litres are you having? Are you going to have them in ground? What about your grey water use? Are you going to have any passive heating or cooling? Any thermal mass that's being used? What about a heat pump as an alternative? Any solar hot water? That's a never ending because there's so many different materials that are coming out at the moment. I was actually just talking to a client the other day, and instead of using hempcrete, she's actually now going to use cross-laminated laminate. So there's lots of different new products coming out as well, and they're becoming more and more au fait in Australia. But why does this decision fatigue matter? I think it's really important to understand early on, which is why I'm doing this podcast for you, that it's not just as simple as thinking, oh, yeah, I've just got to get tiles, benchtop, cabinetry, and a splashback. That's only 4 materials. Oh, that's easy. I can do that. It's actually understanding all of the different components of the different materials that are available and understanding the advantages and disadvantages, how those colours work together. And as I've said before, not all whites are equal. And that's what I see on Facebook groups more often than not is, oh, I thought by choosing white, it was a safe choice. But there's so many different whites and there's so many different undertones for those whites that white on white is not necessarily a safe choice. But understanding that there are going to be so many different decisions that you'll need to make over the course of the project, yes, you need to get organised, but do you actually need some assistance in the areas that you can get assistance for to assist you in that? But what I really wanted you to understand that this 4 materials is actually not just 4 materials. There are so many other things that you're going to need to know and do and research just to choose those 4 materials. So that's when the decision fatigue kicks in, because there's a lot of work there to choose those 4 materials. But I think the tragedy comes, the regret comes when, because of the decision fatigue that creates the exhaustion and that mental load, that you make rushed and misaligned choices. And that leads to the regret. It leads to moving back into a home that you've created going, oh my goodness me, I really regret that decision. If only, or if only. And you don't want to spend all that time, money, and effort and have that as you move in. It can blow your budget as well, and it can delay your project. Blowing your budget because, oh, that'll do. Yes, I know it's more, but I just need to get this decision. I just have to make this decision. So yeah, that'll do. Just run with that. And it's so much, that product is so much more than what you wanted to pay. Or it delays the project because you're not able to make a decision. If you're not planning for all of these decisions in advance and you've got a materials and a fittings and fixture schedule done before you start the build, your builder will be calling you very regularly. I need a decision on this. What's the tile? Where can I get the tile from? And then you're making really rash decisions because he needs it quickly. You're not really checking, is it going with the other things? You don't really have the time to be looking around at lots of different options. And then you're reduced with what you can actually choose from because you have to choose products that are in stock. Now, sometimes we have clients call us desperate for quick decisions because their builder is on the phone, I need a decision. And of course, I will try and help these clients out. But their choices are heavily reduced. And I know it because I'm calling suppliers. Is this product in stock? Is this in stock? Is this in stock? Is this in stock? And from 5 products, I might have 2 products that I can choose from because they're the only ones that are in stock and available now. Because we're choosing for our clients normally minimum 6, normally 12 months out from when build is going to start, we don't run into those issues. And the builder knows in advance he has to order maybe 3 months in advance if things are coming from Europe on a ship. So that's going to reduce what you're choosing and means you're making a compromise already on what you're choosing from. And then that's the regret. You're then spending all this money and moving back into a home that actually is not really a reflection of what you wanted. So how do you avoid it? You've got to follow a process. Start big, think about your layout, your flow, your room zoning, and then you move into the detail. You need to be planned for the detail and you need to allow time. You need to have a lot of time on your hands to do this. You're not just going to be able to walk into one shop and make all your decisions. You can outsource it to someone like myself, an interior designer that will then be able to do all that legwork for you. And of course, they know the suppliers, they know the materials. So that's going to be a much easier process. And then they're able to show you what's meeting your brief. Break decisions into stages, which is exactly how I plan it with my clients. We're working on this bit now, then we're going to work on the next bit, and I show them a flow chart so they can see how we're going to move and evolve through the entire journey, so they know what's coming up next. They know where they're going to need to make decisions or what they need to feed back to us. So don't tackle everything or try and tackle everything in a week. Group by category, but don't forget that overlay of making sure that everything is connected and coordinated and flows together. So you can start working on one area, but then you need to make sure that you've got the big picture in mind too. But get that support, help narrow down those decisions, which I'm doing for clients, so that you're not looking at 50 tiles going, where do I start? I've already got that down to 2, maybe 3. And then because it's in the studio, I've got a plethora of other materials that I can choose from if that's not quite hitting the mark. Still all within that hour and a half meeting. Unsure about the floor plan before you've even started with the materials, get the floor plan sanity check, have it reviewed. Yes, I'm sure that this is, checking the windows with the furniture placement. How is that going to affect the layout of the space when I move in? And use your priorities as filters. So if it's not functional, flexible, or sustainable, maybe rule that out. Where are your values aligned with this project? And that's going to help you make decisions as well. And align those choices with your budget and your values and what your overall goal is. What is the design direction? And if it's not really quite hitting the mark, well, then eliminate it. The way I do this with clients, and I say this upfront in advance, I'm very good at reading facial expressions. So as I'm presenting to my clients, I'm watching their faces and their reaction. And as soon as I see it's not hitting the mark, I take it off the table. Don't even entertain it as an option. If this is not hitting a mark for you, if clients say to me, oh, yeah, it's okay, maybe I'll get used to it, it's gone, it's finished. Near enough is not good enough. It must give you an emotional response. I can't wait for this to go into my house. This is absolutely me. I just can't wait. I feel so good about this. That's the response you want. And that's the response I'm looking for with my clients. I will say to them, I'm watching. You don't need to say the words. I can see it on your face when something's not hitting the mark. It is removed immediately. And that's the way you need to think about it yourself as well. And I say it a million times, I'll say it again, forget the trends, just stick with what you love, keep focused on your overall vision and don't get perturbed by that. Don't get waylaid by distractions from others that are not experts, and distractions by what you may be seeing. And look, I this has happened to me as well. I've been down this process when I was actually try not to make decisions. You've made all your decisions, all the schedules are done, and your builder started, and then you've seen the next shiny thing. So difficult for an interior designer, let me tell you. That is going to create havoc with what you've decided. You need to be comfortable with what you've decided and stick with it. Now, I broke this rule, and I can't believe I'm going to admit this to you, but I'm going to. I had created everything. Everything had been decided when we started building our house 12 years ago. And then I went to a trade show. And the trade show had a new product. And it was a tile that I absolutely 100% fell in love with it. And it was brand new. It had just been released. And it was from one of my most favourite designers, Marcel Wanders, who happens to be Dutch and is an absolute god of design. And I looked at this tile and I said to the rep, I have to have this tile in my house that's currently being built right now. So I had to then end up changing the entire specification in that powder room because it affected the other materials. Now, I was able to do this, one, because obviously it's my profession and I could make those decisions and knew what I needed to do, but we also weren't far enough down the build that it was going to affect the builder. And I was already supplying the materials because I ended up managing this build from lock-up stage. So there were many things that I had a lot of control over that meant I could do this, but I do not recommend this for yourself. It meant that I had to make some pretty quick and rash decisions because I knew the cabinetry was going in and everything else, and the tile had to do this. But you know what? 12 years down the track, I have not regretted making that decision at that time. I knew I had to have that tile. It's just not something I recommend because the knock-on effect is quite intense. So, I suppose the other thing, so I've told you my, story that I don't think you should follow in terms of being distracted by the next shiny thing. And as designers, and I actually talk to other designers about this, when you're doing your own home, it's terrible because you know all the products that are out there, but when we're doing it for our clients, we can stay really, really focused on the brief. How is this meeting the brief? Here's the end goal. Here's the vision. Here's the design direction. As a designer, we do get caught up with the next shiny thing, but I highly suggest that once you've made your decisions, stick with them. Don't go out shopping anymore. Don't go looking for the next thing. Try and avoid the magazines and the TV shows, because you'll see something, you'll go, oh, maybe I could have that, or oh, I really would like that. So try and be confident in what you've decided so that you don't go down that path. But, we had a client who was totally overwhelmed with her splashback, but we narrowed it down to 3 options for her. Then we were able to walk through, how these 3 options work with the rest of the choices in the house. How does it work with the other materials that are going on in that space? And then we were really able to give her the confidence to make the right decision. Workshopping it a little bit, having the conversations and also passing our own opinion about what we think is going to work best. And that gives you the confidence then to be able to make decisions for yourself as well, having that bit of guidance. And often it is just knowing, having that reassurance, yes, this is going to work together. And as I also say to my clients, I'm not going to let you make a bad decision. I'm not going to be quiet about a material that you think is going to work and I don't think it will. I need to tell you that. That is my job. So that is the reassurance that you're obtaining. And sometimes that's all you need, just to go, yep, that's going to work. So don't worry. Decision fatigue is normal. It happens. There are times in our project where it's probably going to be a little bit unavoidable, but it is manageable by making as many of the decisions as you can up front, getting assistance where you can, and also understanding this is going to be a very, very time-consuming exercise. You're not going to be able to do this on a Saturday. You're not going to be able to do it by going into one store. It's not going to work like that. So if you know what you're up for up front, and you've got the time, you've got the energy, you've got the knowledge, and you've got the desire to do it, absolutely go for it. Have fun and really enjoy that process. What I really want you to take away from today, though, is it's not as simple as it's a couple of products that I can just go and sort out on a weekend. It's not that at all. If you're stuck, get some guidance. I can guide you with an initial consultation or the floor plan sanity check. Sometimes we can sort quite a few things out in the initial consult if you've gone down that path already. Or you may want to engage an interior designer to actually help you completely with deciding your materials and your fittings and your fixtures. That's just the part. Obviously, there's a lot more to the project than that, but that's what I was focusing on today. So knowledge is everything, right? So if you know what you're up for, then you know how to manage it. And that's what I wanted to get across to you today. This is the first episode for 2026, and it's probably a good way to get started if you're starting on your project, that you can start planning out how you're going to manage this over the coming months. So let's hit the ground running in 2026. There'll be a podcast that comes out every month. They come out on a Thursday, once a month, and I'll be going through a whole lot of different a whole lot of different subjects this year, and hopefully each one is going to help you on your forever home journey. Bye for now.